Welcome to the Final Frontiers radio show, where we spotlight inspiring missionary endeavors around the globe. Stay tuned to hear how you can personally get involved, helping the Lord's frontline soldiers effectively advance the gospel where it has never been preached before. Today we'll have our third roundtable discussion concerning how you can be involved in sharing all of our missions information and updates from Final Frontiers with friends and family and other like-minded believers. And we'll have part 3 of the India debriefing of Joshua Martin's travels through the Hindu holy city of Varanasi.
This is Daniel Nelms. I'm here with John Nelms and Josh Martin, and today we're going to talk about sharing.
Oh boy.
Sharing is caring, right?
I don't like to share.
Especially about the podcast. We want people to know out there. We've sent out emails and everything telling you that you can get the app on your phone. And that's something that I've gone through my emailing list and just sent out an email with the links. If you have an Android phone, if you have an iPhone, then what you're listening to right now, you could give that to all of your friends. And all they've got to do is load that app on their phone, and they have access to all the episodes we've ever done.
Yeah, every week they'll get a little notification on Saturday when the new episode's live, and they can just click on it at their leisure and listen.
Yeah, because frankly, I get the notification every week, but it's usually Sunday, Monday, Tuesday before I get around to listening to it because I'm involved with other things. So
sure.
I love the idea about an app that you can just, in my day, it was going to be on the radio. So you had to tune in a certain day, a certain time, or you missed it.
Right.
And there was no going back and getting to listen to it again. This app thing is wonderful. I mean, 10 years from now, you can go back and listen to it again if you want to.
Absolutely. Every episode we've ever done, it's all there on the app. You just click it and listen.
Now, I know folks who are in my generation may not fully understand that, but let's just look at it as if you've got the radio station in your iPhone or your smartphone that you can turn it on anytime you want to, and it'll give you that broadcast. And the way Josh has it set up is you can scroll down and look through the, I think you call them the show notes,
sure,
and see what was taken. Like a couple of weeks ago, you had the wife of Babu Prasad, and as I was listening, I was really enjoying what she had to say. But I was thinking about, I wonder if all the women on our mailing list could listen to this, if they knew that they could not just hear an old man preacher again talking about the mission field, but his wife, she's a doctor, she's talking about how she helps her husband in the ministry, and I think that's something all the women would be interested in, if only they knew.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. And right there on your app, you can actually see the subject matter for every episode. Mm-hmm. And so that new episode comes up, and you point, you click it there, you hit it with your finger, and you can scroll down, and you can see exactly what's being said in there. And there might be one thing out of that you really, really are interested into.
And it's easy to find if you just open up your App Store or your Google Play Store and type in Final Frontiers Radio. It'll pop right up. You click it, you download it. It's free of charge. It's a small app. It won't take long to load up. But it's interesting that you said, if only they knew. And that sort of brings us back to the whole point here is, if only they knew. If only they knew the sort of stuff that Final Frontiers was involved in. And that's how you, listener, can get involved.
Because truthfully, the people on our mailing list are primarily there because they heard us speak in a church over the last 32 years. But what if there were 10 or 20 listeners who each could get 10 or 20 people involved? Think how many more preachers we could support, or how many more children could be blessed with food every day. So bottom line is, we're doing all we can do. Now we're coming to you asking you to help us by doing just a little bit to spread the word that we're out here and trying to get the work done.
And how can you share? How can you tell your friends? Word of mouth?
Well, what I found in every church, there are a small percentage of people, maybe 1% or 2%, who eat, sleep, and drink missions.
Yeah.
Everybody may be interested, but their interest ends when the sermon's over.
Passing interest.
Yeah. And thank God for that, because everybody can't be interested in everything, But when I'm there, I'm really trying to go after that 1% that really love missions and get them hooked on our ministry, get them on our mailing list so they can learn more about us. So if you're one of that 1% listening now, then you know who the other 1%ers are in your church, or a church you used to be a member of, or your brother's church, or whatever. Just take the time to share the information with them about what we're doing and see where the Lord takes it from there.
It's like that everywhere you go. When we go through an area and we speak in a church, I can think of places in Missouri that I know when I go through there, that family, I know this one family, they'll let me spend the night at their house. You know, they wouldn't want me in a hotel. They'll take care of me, or they'll pick me up from the airport because they love missions and they want to hear the new stories. And those are the people that we're looking for out there, and it's hard for us to find them all, but our listeners know them. You guys know them. You know who's like you.
Yeah, sometimes at a church, I play this little game with myself while I'm giving our presentation. I'm trying to find those people in the audience that I believe will end up sponsoring a preacher or a child. So when it's over with, I go to the table, and sure as I'm sitting here, they always pop up because you can see the interest on their faces, while others may be thinking,
what's for lunch?
Yeah, or hey, that's interesting. I've never heard that before. There's always that one out there that looks like a light bulb came on over his head. And sometimes they'll get up during the invitation and going out to the table because they want to make sure they don't miss out on the opportunity to find a preacher to support. It's really fun to do that.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is that there aren't all that many people out there who really are interested in missions. But they are there, and only you can help us reach them.
So we appreciate anything you can do.
Whether that's word of mouth, sending out an email, sharing it on Facebook or Twitter, whatever you can do to help us get this message out would be a huge, huge deal for us.
And with Final Frontiers, I think the exciting pull with a lot of it is the fact that we not only support national church planners literally in over 80 countries. But when I've been working on this podcast, I found 15 unique different things that Final Frontiers does and created commercials that go on this podcast for every single one of those. So there are there's more than 15, but at least 15 ways that someone who is missions-minded can get involved in missions through this ministry. And so, you may be interested in one thing. You may be interested in Touch of Life. Another person's interested in preachers. Another person is just fresh into missions and they want to take a visionary trip. Or maybe someone who is interested. They're in college and they want to get into the internship program. There are over 15 ways you can get involved in missions. And
then another good thing I really like about the podcast is that even though we wanted to promote the news about us, in almost every episode you have other people on there, missionaries or national preachers or whatever. Sometimes they're not even involved in our ministry, but we know about them, we know they're doing a good job, and it gives us a chance to advertise their ministry for them. I think God blesses us for that.
Yes.
Amen. Not only can you share our podcast, you could share our emails by forwarding those over to people who are like-minded. Hey, birds of a feather flock together, right? You could share our progress report, give them a copy, or share the PDF version. And if that person really wants to get their own, have them sign up. It's easy at finalfrontiers.world. You can sign up, and it's completely free.
And we have videos that come out whenever you see a link to a video, or go on the YouTube channel of Final Frontiers and look for those videos, the ones that you like the most, the ones that touched your heart, and grab the link and share that in an email.
Give it a thumbs up and comment below. That helps us with the algorithm.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how much that really all you got to do is click that thumbs on button, but it makes all the difference in the world.
If you go to our Facebook, Final Frontiers Foundation Facebook, give our posts a thumbs up. Comment on the post. Doing that ensures that more people see it. Hey, if we post something, we have over 15,000 followers on Facebook, and if we post something on there and nobody likes it, maybe 100 people will see it. That's just the way their algorithm works now. But you get a couple of people down who will comment below, share the link, give it a thumbs up. Next thing you know, thousands of people see our post organically without us having to spend any money on quote-unquote advertising. That is a huge deal, just taking a few seconds out of your day to hit a little button that says thumbs up.
We would also love for you to comment on the podcast that you're listening to as well. That's something that we have rarely gotten that many comments, and we would really like questions.
Yeah.
Because we put that out there every single week. Every Saturday it comes up and it says, if you have questions, please contact us. We would love to hear from you. Any questions that you want to send. Nothing is stupid. There are so many things out there that you may be interested in. Please ask us questions.
Absolutely. Please. We've been asking that since day one, and we haven't gotten, I think we maybe have gotten one question. And it was from Josh's mom. But also, rate the app. You can rate the app on the Google Play Store, on the Apple App Store. You can give it a star rating. I think it's 1 to 5 stars. If you don't mind, 5 stars would be very appreciated.
Well, I didn't even know about that.
Yeah.
So I need to figure out how to rate it.
If you don't get our podcast through the app, if you're getting it on Spotify or via iTunes, you can also rate our episodes on iTunes, on Spotify, on Pandora, on any one of the many places you may have found this episode. And all those little things will take you seconds to do. They don't cost you any money, but they help us tremendously.
But you know one thing we don't have on the podcast? We don't ask people for money.
That's
and I
true.
like that. Because sometimes, you somebody have a 30-minute program, they spend 15 minutes asking for money. And we have a 30-minute program, and we don't even spend 15 seconds or 1.5 seconds asking for money. This isn't a thing for us to make money off of. It's a service to you who are involved in missions. It's a service to other missionaries who need the exposure. And it's a service to our ministry to let people know the good news. And if somebody wants to give money later, wonderful. But that's not what this program is all about.
Amen.
It's informing you about how you can get involved in the world of missions.
And there's so much out there for you to do. To learn more, visit finalfrontiers.world.
Would you like for world missions to be fresh and exciting in your home? Here at Final Frontiers, we work hard to produce a full-color magazine report with inspiring stories, important global facts, and missions opportunities and updates every quarter throughout the year. You can sign up for your copy at finalfrontiers.world.
And now we have part 3 of the India debriefing that talks about traveling through the holy cities in this country. Today we're talking about Varanasi.
There's no trains available to go the extra 4 hours then to Varanasi, which is your really holy city.
It just wasn't running that day?
Yeah, there was, I don't know, they said there was no trains available. So, and I tried earlier on to get that. And one of the things I wanted, I asked all the preachers that we support, the directors, do you know anybody in Varanasi? Because this is like one of the most holiest cities in India.
Right.
And I would really like to have a Christian guide there that can tell me, do this, don't do this. And I did not have anybody. So when I went into Bodh Gaya and even Taran, he wasn't sure of what to tell me. So when I left Calcutta, go to Bodh Gaya, go to Varanasi, I did not have anybody. So I was really hoping people were praying for me.
Yeah.
Okay, so this bus ride really gets interesting. I thought that some people spoke English, but they ended up not. They must have known just a little bit. And so nobody knew anything. In fact, I started to get scared that I had gone clear past Varanasi. I kept looking for signs and things, and I couldn't see anything. And I had paid the fare, which was really cheap. And I got on there, and we were going and going. I had 2 guys next to me in the same seat, and we were crammed in. Mm-hmm. And then we get stuck in a whole line of traffic with other buses and other trucks. And there's some kind of car wreck way up ahead. No. And so we were stuck there for hours. And it should have been just a few hours, 4 hours, like I was saying. And we end up never getting into Varanasi until like after midnight or 1 o'clock. And
wow.
We had 2 rainstorms come through, which drove everybody back on the bus. And so with the bus not running, windows down, so the rain's not pounding in on us, it is hot in there.
I bet.
And I'd like creak the window open beside me just a little bit so I could breathe and just pray that the rain would stop so we could all get back off the bus.
Oh.
So this goes on and on and on for hours. We get into Varanasi finally, and I see a sign, and I'm seeing people getting dropped off, and we get to a certain point, and I only know a little bit of Hindi, and so I just know a little. And so they're pointing at me, saying, "This is where you get off." I could tell this is where I get off, and I wasn't real sure, but I had no guide, I had nothing, and so they had didn't know it, but they had dropped me off near a sort of touristy area. Okay. I was closer to the Ganges River, but we're on the opposite side of all these streets, and so I jump off there was an old couple, and I thought I could be a little safer if I stick with the old couple. And so there's a little tiny group of us, grab our bags in the middle of the night, and I just followed them into the dark. Nobody had a flashlight, and we just headed into the streets in these little tiny skinny alleyways that is literally like a spider web. It's like a maze.
Oh no.
And if anybody's ever been to India and you see the streets in some of those places, this is back alley.
Right.
And so you head into the darkness, and I just stayed with them. And they're looking for guest houses. really cheap guest houses. These are $6 to $7 places to stay with not a whole lot. I mean, mine didn't even have a sink in it, you know. So we head into the dark, and I got caught in one area where I saw a little taxi there, a little rickshaw taxi, and the guys are sleeping in the back. And I was saying, cheap hotel, just asking them, and they're like, they didn't know any English. There's like, cheap hotel, cheap hotel. And I realized that I'm not getting anywhere with these guys. Yeah, it was really hard to explain to them what I wanted, and I could see the last person had already disappeared into the dark down that next alley. And so I just took off. I got my bags, and I'm running down there. I got bags on both sides.
Crazy American woke me up.
Yeah, and they were not going to be able to help me. And so I just stayed with the group. I thought, I'm going to follow these guys. Whoever they are, they're coming here to sleep. So we're going through these streets, and it is just tiny, tiny, skinny streets. It's just rained. You got manure all over the ground. You've got cows that you're trying to squish past. You got dogs growling at you. I looked through one avenue where they said, here, go down here. You'll find a place to stay. And there's dogs growling at me.
I'm not going that way.
One time I pushed through a place with 2 dogs, but there's nothing down there, just black. And so then they sent the old couple one way and said, you'll find somebody down there. And then they sent me a different direction saying, you'll find it down here. And they gave me 3 names. Well, I did eventually get into a place that night. Okay. But it was, like I said, $6 hotel. Come out the next morning, and there's like a pile of manure sitting outside on the stairs. I don't know if it's from a child or a dog or what it is. The streets are full of trash.
Yeah.
It was just after a festival, and nobody had come through and cleaned anything. So it's just dung and just streets with trash. It's just amazing. Filled with people in the mornings, dogs, cows, people. And so I find a guide that can actually take me to the main temple, which I was not able to get into the temple, but I did go to the burning ghat, and this is where the main cremation goes on. And so I'm up there with these guys, and we're talking, and this guy's telling me you can't really take pictures from here, but I stand above the main cremation spot where they supposedly have kept the fire going for 3,500 years. Shiva started it, they say, and they've kept this fire going. This is what you're burned by in the end of your life, and then your bones are dumped in that river. And so he describes the entire process. Here's a guy just like 6 inches from my face. He's got the most dead look in his eyes. It's like there's no life in this guy, and he is just talking and talking and talking. His fingers are burned from handling the cremation. And he's telling me the story. We're overlooking, and I'm seeing there's like 3 or 4 bodies down there right now that they are burning. And he tells me the entire ceremony, and then shows that they put the ashes. They could burn over 100 people in a day. And he said up to 200, but definitely over 100. So, and people drink this water. People bathe in this water every morning, every night. They are putting out the candles. They're doing their ceremonies. So I got to see that, and then I was taken around to temple after temple after temple, and just explained all these places. And people will come there to die. If you can be in a certain mile radius, then it's absolute moksha, which for the Buddhists is nirvana, same concept, but it's called moksha to the Hindus. So if you can be if you can be burned there, if you can be cremated there,
Does you have to die there to be cremated there?
Yeah, if you die there, if you're cremated there, well, no, yeah, and a lot of people are they're trying to. I mean, they're under the bridges or wherever. If they're within a close radius, if they die there, they get moksha.
So people find their body and drag them up to the...
And you'll see bodies floating in the river. You'll see it. It's just a dirty river. Yeah, it has all kinds of stories I could tell about that river, but there's just all these temples and things, and Shiva's temple, and another place where Krishna supposedly started a place that they come once a year, and the sun hits the water, and you are relieved of sin, and it's gated until that time, and it's like this underground river, and they showed me that. They showed me all these places, sacred fires, and there's just a feeling of such incredible darkness there. It's amazing. And so I was in a lot of areas, and then my guide found a friend that got me through a certain ceremony. There's literally people down in the ceremony. I walked right through, and he took me to the roof and let me film the Shiva fire ceremony with the snake lanterns. And so I was able to film that from above. When tourists will pay money to get on a boat to get out just out on the water, but I was able to get up there from above. And so they gave me a name, and they said, if anybody asks you, just tell them this name. And then they left me alone. I'm up there above everybody, filming, taking pictures. But I experienced quite a bit. So Varanasi, holy city, quite a deal. So I saw all of these major religions, and hopefully we'll see more, but I've got a lot of footage in some dark places of the world. And these are what our preachers are experiencing. This is what they come out of, but this is what they experience now. So it's good to, hopefully in future videos, we'll be able to show some shots, and they'll know where that comes from.
Yeah, that would be fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Man, I can't wait to hear what happens next.
Right.
Your inquiries and comments are important to us. If you have questions or perhaps subject matter you would like to have addressed on this show, please visit us at finalfrontiers.world.
James was the pastor of the church in Jerusalem and perhaps the first pastor in history, and he was also the younger brother of Jesus. The disciples were trained by Christ for a few years, but James lived with him most of his life. Imagine what he learned from his big brother, both by speech and by example. Perhaps this is why James tells us that pure religion is demonstrated not by theological education or position, but by caring for the widows, orphans, the incarcerated, and the needy. He revealed the self-righteous hypocrisy of the so-called religious class by scolding them for their inactions. He said to them, "You see the naked and say, 'God bless you,' I'll pray you receive some clothes. But you send them away still naked, though you personally have an abundant wardrobe. You see the hungry and say, 'God bless you,' I'll pray God sends you food. But you send them away still hungry, knowing that your kitchen pantry is overflowing." In essence, they were saying to the needy, "I pray God sends someone to clothe and feed you, just not me." We like to read the passage because it makes us feel more spiritual than the hypocrites he rebuked. But I must wonder, James mentions only two categories, those of food and clothing. Are they the only categories by which we should demonstrate our faith by our works? I believe this principle applies to every area of our lives. When we see a need and have the ability to fulfill it, but choose rather to ignore it, giving only lip service by our prayers or lapel ribbons, asking God to meet the need that He already gave us the ability to meet, then are we not as guilty as those whom James rebuked? I believe we are. In faith, by our bedsides and in our church pews, we pray for lost souls. We pray for missions and missionaries. But when given a chance to apply the works of giving to our prayers of faith, we falter, giving little or nothing at all. John also knew Jesus well, but where James made a statement, he asked a question. If you possess worldly goods and seeing a brother in need don't help him, how can you claim the love of God lives in you and through you? I'm John Nelms. To learn more about missions, order a copy of my book, The Great Omission, on our website at finalfrontiers.world.
You've been listening to the Final Frontiers radio show, funded by sponsors like you. Thank you so much for joining us. Through the funding of national and native preachers, we endeavor to effectively advance the gospel where it has never been preached before. If you want more information, visit www.finalfrontiers.world. That's finalfrontiers.world.